free time traveling and painting. Her philosophy in life is be happy, be calm for tomorrow. Be calm, for tomorrow is another day to fight for what you want. So Chineye, help us to be happy by giving us your tips and sharing these financial secrets with your people here on the call, about 70 of us today, so that we can join you in your sphere of freedom. Thank you very much. You're welcome to the podium. So take it over, Chineye.
Hello, everyone. Would I be sharing my slides from here or from your end? I think it's best you guys go ahead and share the slides.
Okay, great. Simeon, please share from your end. The slide is coming up.
All right. So during the event, we've all been talking about various ways in which you can manage your career, your business. Basically, you all are starting out in life, and the question you have to ask yourself is, how do I plan for my future? It's good to start working. It's good to start earning money. But a lot of people have made it big and have been earning money month to month, day to day. But when it's time to retire, some of them have gone broke. And that's because they didn't have a plan. They didn't have aspiration. They didn't have goals. So that's what we'll be focusing on, how to plan your life, how to start now to look at the future. Please, next slide. Okay, so I use a lot of learnings I've gotten from attending some paid services and talking to different people and even researching online. So there are 5 steps of personal finance that I like using. And step 1, please press next. Hello? So step 1 is track your net worth. You're starting out in life and you have to ask yourself, where am I? What does my net worth look like? If I take all the assets I have and all the money that I'm owing, all my liabilities, where do I stand? Am I running at a debt? Am I negative or am I positive? Of course, we'll go into detail as we go ahead. The step 2 is next, please. The step 2 is that if you know where you are starting in life, as of now, as of today, if you know whether you're positive or negative, you need to now start setting goals so that you can achieve your short-term, your mid-term, your long-term goals. That's the step 2. I know where I am. I'm setting my goals to achieve something for the future. Now your step 3 is you need to take charge of your debts. Whether we like it or not, in different aspects in our life, we would always have debts. So your debts can be like your loans, the credit cards you have, the taxes you know you're going to have to pay, etc. So how are you going to manage it now and for the future? Then the next thing is that you're starting out in life. You don't know what's going to happen. So you can't just be earning and shopping. You have to make sure you have emergency funds. So how do I start building up my emergency funds such that if anything happens to me, I'm able to sustain myself during those rainy days? So your emergency funds can be from 6 to 2 years. It's up to you. You decide what kind of risks you want to carry on in your life. And then the final step is your retirement. You're starting now. You're not going to be able to work for life. So what's going to happen at the end of your work journey? How are you going to be able to take care of yourself when you can no longer work, or you don't want to work anymore? You just want to relax and enjoy yourself. So these are the 5 steps that we're going to go through, and a little bit of details. Of course, this is just the basics. After this, you as an individual have to take charge of your own financial journey and start pushing yourself to learn more and plan better. Next slide, please. So step 1, we talked about net worth. Your net worth is looking at your assets. Your assets can be that money in your account. So it can be 20,000, 30,000, whatever money you have in your account, that's the money in your bank. Then if you own homes, or maybe you've inherited houses from your parents or relatives or friends, you put that in. If you have any investments, you put that in. Even your gold, your jewelry that has value, you put that in. All that are your assets, right? Now your liabilities are your mortgages, your loans. You put that in another bucket, and then you subtract the two, and then you check: am I positive or negative as of today? There are a lot of Excel sheets online or templates online that you can use. You don't have to formulate anyone. Next slide, please. There are lots. The one you see here is just something I got online. It's free. If you see here, this is an example that I have pasted here, and I've just put in a few numbers. Of course, you have to tailor it to suit your own situation. So if you see here, this person's net worth is positive. So today he starts with a positive net worth. That's good for him. At another time, he can be negative. So you have to understand that network is not always positive. You can slide into a negative network, you can slide out of a negative network. That's why it's very, very important that you have a scheduled plan to review your financial standing. So you can make it every December. I personally do end of the month, November, December. That's when I start reviewing my network for the year, and it will help me to plan for the coming years, for the next year and then the coming years. So this is just an example. I would employ each and every one of you that if there's nothing that you've taken from this presentation today, take this particular network calculation. You need to do that for today to help you align what you have and what you really need to have for the future. Next slide, please. So step 2, your financial goals. So you know where you are. You might be positive, you might be negative. That's fine. Now, what do you need to do to achieve your financial goals, your life goals? And in order to do that, you have to be deliberate about it. You have to make specific goals. With those goals need to be you need to be able to say, okay, this is the amount of money I'm allocating to this goal in order for me to achieve it at this time. So it can be that in 2024 I want to own a car, and that car is going to cost me 2 million naira, right? So that's a specific goal. You know when and you know how much. Now you need to be able to inject that into your financial plan. Now you can have multiple goals running on, right? So for instance, now I'm starting off in life. My earning salary might be 20,000. I can say that one of my goals in life is to be able to save a certain amount of money, maybe by having a monthly deduction into my savings of this amount. So there are so many things. It can be that you want to be able to achieve a master's degree. That of course costs money. So you get to plan what you want to achieve. It can be short term. I like to put my short term goals as anything less than 1 year, and then my mid-term goals 1 to 3, and then my long-term goals 3 and above. And I make sure that at the end of the year, during my financial review, I review my goals as well. And as I review them, I update it. There are sometimes I don't achieve my goals. It's not a problem. You just have to tell yourself that I didn't achieve this, and this is why I didn't achieve it, so that it helps you plan better, right? So that's step 2. Next slide, please. Now, this is just a template that I personally use to write out my goals. You can develop your own, and please make sure that when you look at templates for different things, you adjust it to suit your lifestyle. There are also a lot of apps online that you can use to track all these things. So find the one that works for you. I'm an Excel person, so I like using Excel. Maybe I'm old school. Okay, so this is what I do. I break down my goals into short, mid, and long term, and I write it down, and I print it out and paste it on my wall so that I can see it every time. So when I'm faffing, I can see it and know that I need to come back and reevaluate what's making me to sleep. So I like to paste it on the wall. Next slide, please. Now, step 3 and 4 is the one we don't like looking at, the debt. So we'll always have debts. It's inevitable. And then we need to have emergency funds. Currently, there are some people that have been losing their jobs due to the COVID situation. And one thing a lot of people have been asking themselves is, what did I do with the money I earned? how come I've lost my job today and I can't even sustain myself for a couple of months while I'm looking for something else? It's because there was no emergency fund. So that is very, very key, emergency funds. Now, what I do to manage my debt and emergency funds and also my goals is to have a budget, right? I try to put some examples of the sheets that I've been talking about on an Excel sheet in this slide, for anyone that can access it. So I develop what I call my budgeting plan, right? And I try to look at how much money I'm going to earn on a monthly basis. Some people do it quarterly, 6 monthly, yearly. I prefer to do it monthly. So I look how much money I'm going to earn and how much expenses that's going to be taken out of my income. And I try to balance it out to make sure that I've allocated all my expenses to my income. I'll tell you why. Now, for my expenses, I look at 3 buckets: fixed, my needs, and my wants. My fixed expenses that I cannot modify. So your school fees, you have to pay your school fees, so I can't modify it. Your tax, you have to pay your tax. And you also have to understand what kind of tax is applicable to me. So am I qualified to pay tax based on my earning power? That's the first question. And then if I'm qualified, how much is my tax going to be? So I will urge every one of you to go read about the tax brackets and what it means to your earning power. It's very, very important. And also even your pension, I would advise each and every one of you to go read about it. So that's your fixed. Now, the next one is your needs. Your needs are variable. There are things like you have to eat your grocery. So you can vary it in the sense that I can decide, maybe if I want fruit, I can decide to go for that foreign tangerine. I can't remember what they call it. Is it mandarin or no, not mandarin? I can't remember what they call it. Tangelo, something like that. So I can decide to go for the foreign one. It's more expensive, or I can go for the Nigerian tangerine, which is less expensive. So that's why you can vary it. It's all up to you. Then the last one is your wants. Your wants are your enjoyment, your luxury. There are things like going on vacation, gifts, going to watch a movie. You can do without, you can survive without it. But I mean, each and every one of us wants to enjoy life. So that's why it's there. Now, the next thing is to create your budgets for all these things. And in order to do that, you have to fit in all your expenses into these 3 buckets, right? And then compare them to your income and try to balance it out to make sure you have 0, right? Now, when you're doing that, you have to make sure that your investment goals are broken down into expenses that you can put in your budget. That's why the statement, which I learned from one of the seminars I went for, is that you must always make your investment a bill, right? So if you want to achieve, let's say, 100,000 naira by the end of the month, so in order for you to achieve it, you need to make sure that you're deducting a certain amount from your monthly earning, right? So I'll do 100,000 divided by 12, and I'll get the amount, and then I'll slot it in there. That's an expense I want to take out from my income and put it to achieve my goal, right? So it's very, very important. Then your pension, you might want to be doing pension. So you have to put in there that I'm going to deduct this amount of money, and to go into my pension, you put it there. And then all your other expenses will go there. So that's why your budgeting is very, very key. If you don't have a good budget, you're going to struggle with meeting your goals. So spend a lot of time in getting your budget done right. You might not get it right the first time. So keep reviewing and reviewing until you get it right and you get what suits you. Next slide, please. So this is the final slide, which is your retirement, and then making sure you evaluate your process. Now you know where you stand today financially, your net worth. You've looked at making sure that you have a budget. You've looked at creating your goals for your short, mid, and long-term goals. You've looked at how to remove your debt by fixing it into your budget. You've looked at how to create your emergency funds by fixing it in your budget. The last thing, which is your long-term goal, is your retirement. You must have a plan for retirement. So the retirement question is, as of today, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have let's say you want to work for 30 years from today. So that means that you're going to use that 30 years to create the kind of lifestyle you want to have at retirement. So that's the mindset you have to be thinking about, right? And so you have to be deliberate about creating a financial plan to feed the lifestyle that you want to achieve. And to be clear, you might think that you need, let's say, 1 million as part of retirement at the end of your working career. This is just an example. But lifestyle changes. The value of money changes. So you have to keep reevaluating this retirement plan, which is why it's very important to have investment in things that have value for long term. Then, as someone that is planning for retirement, you also have to understand your risk tolerance. You can't be you can't be you can't be, let's say, having 5 years left before you want to retire and you're taking a lot of risk. You're making risky investments. So you have to ask yourself that question. As I am today, if I'm starting out today, am I more averse to taking risks to try and get more money as quick as I can for my retirement? Or do I want to be conservative? So those are questions you have to ask yourself. Now, once you create your plan for retirement, you still have to fit it into your budget. So everything goes back to your budget. So that money you're deducting, fit it into your budget. Please, it's very important to have pension. Pension is very, very important. It's like your backup plan. At least for me, I look at pension as my backup plan. If I'm deducting money for my pension, that's one thing, but I still need to deduct money for retirement that I'm actively chasing for my lifestyle. So if something happens to that one, the pension money I'm deducting is my backup plan. That's for me. So please, pension, very important. Now, the last comment I want to make is on the value of deducting money. Now, if you look at the comment there, it says a yearly compounding investment of 6,000 naira per 6,000 naira per year at 9% interest rate in 20 years will give you 334,000 naira. So this is just you taking out 6,000 naira per year, right? At a 9% interest, and you're already having 334. If you take out 60,000 per year, you're going to have 3 million something, right? So that's to show you that you might think 1,000 naira, putting 1,000 naira aside per month is something big, or sorry, something small, but it's really not. It keeps adding up if you are deliberate about it, right? So no matter how small or no matter how big you earn, you must make sure you take out a little bit or a big chunk, up to you, to put for your investments. You will not know when that thing will just keep growing and growing and growing. Finally, always make sure you have your plan. If you don't plan, you're not going to achieve something tangible. You're just going to be earning money and not really understanding where the money is going into. So have a plan, understand your goals, and always reevaluate it. So, at the end of the day, you would see that you're going to have more charge of you're going to take more charge of your finances. All right, thank you. That's the end.
Wow, I was taking notes almost all through, such a deep yet very brief introduction to personal finance and gaining your financial kind of freedom or knowledge within a very short space of time. So I have looked at the charts. There are no questions posted here for Chinenye. If you want to unmute to ask your questions, please feel free to do that. I give 2 minutes for that. But while you're preparing for your questions, let me just kind of summarize the things I noted, and hopefully you took away a number of things as well. You need to really track your net worth. That's as a starting point. You need to track that. You need to know where you are today. Where, if you're going on a journey, where are you today? So that you can, if you're taking a bus or you're taking a bike or you're taking a keke, you need to know where you are standing in the junction so you can then decide what route to go. Following that, you need to set your goals to help you get to your destination. You need to manage your debts. We all have debts that we are managing one way or the other, but you need to really be deliberate about managing your debts. And you need to maintain emergency funds as something that can sustain you in the case where you lose your source of income, something that can sustain you for at least 6 months without an earning coming in into your account. And you need to save for retirement. When the bones are weary, you need to save today for those days when you cannot, actively create money for yourself, so that your passive income is generating something and you're able to sustain a lifestyle. Thank you so much. I took those 5 steps. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll just wait as the session progresses. If we get a question, I will direct it to Chinenye. Chinenye, thank you so much once again for that very insightful presentation. Okay, so the next on the agenda is for Precious to take the podium. I already did an introduction of Precious earlier. Just to remind us again, please flash the citation. Okay, Precious comes with a lot of experience in managing stakeholder integration. She's a seasoned stakeholder manager. She's a certified Microsoft systems engineer. She's a chartered marketer. She holds an MBA from the University of Calabar and the Swiss Business School, almost in the bag as well. So please join me as I welcome Precious, who will be taking us on the networking bit of this presentation. Thank you. Precious, over to you.
Thank you, Ifeyinwa. And thanks so much, Chinenye, for that wonderful presentation. In fact, I've picked a lot of things from you today. Most importantly, you must know where you're coming from before you know where you're going. So this is not just about storytelling. Also financially, we must know what we are doing so that on the raining day, we will not have anything to regret. I want to welcome everyone and say good evening once again, and welcome to this presentation. Mr. Debola Bada, permit me to respond to your remarks that this is not women affairs. To be very honest, I was worried when I saw all women speaker, but I'm glad that it is a happenstance. We'll be talking about networking and stakeholder management. Networking is not new. Stakeholder management is also not new to anybody sitting down here today. So these two words are ubiquitous. I am aware that some of us have some expectations from this presentation. Please, in view of time, feel free to drop them in the chat box. Hopefully, Feyinwa would help us to pick out some, and I should be able to cover some. But in addition to that, I'd like to share my objectives from this presentation. Could you please help us with the slide, please?
Simeon, can we have the slide on networking?
While Simon is bringing on the slide, I can just go ahead with the objectives of the presentation, which is to increase our awareness of stakeholder resources as well as stakeholder management. I would also try to emphasize the need of stakeholder management and networking, as well as familiarize us with the process of identifying a stakeholder. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what is networking? By the definition you see on the slide, it is using your personal relationship, the relationship you already have with one another, to increase your exposure to information and opportunity. I've built a relationship today with Chinenye, and I know that after this presentation, I will hook up with her offline to teach me more on how to manage my funds. I personally got exposed to Shell through a friend as a student. Back in school, I didn't even know what was Shell. I wasn't familiar with Lagos because I was born in the north and I grew up in the north. And this friend was telling me about Shell. She told me so much good things about Shell that I started dreaming of becoming a Shell staff. That dream came to pass. We also have it on record that a large percentage of graduates also gain employment through personal contacts. So the contacts you keep matters. Who are in your current network? This is a personal question. Some of us may be thinking, when we talk about networking, you think so far away. Meanwhile, what we're talking about is so close home. You have your friends, you have your families. They are your network. I got married to my village boy, but I never lived in the village. It was via referral from my family, my cousin. So it's networking. Contacts from voluntary work, societies, clubs, they are all networking. Today, I'm providing these services voluntarily. Today, you are all here because you are members of SPE. We are connecting, it's all networking. You have a part-time job, internship, the contacts you make there, they are all part of your network. How do you then expand this network? When you attend career fairs, employers' presentation, conferences, alumni services, name it. You can even ask someone you know about another person's contact. Like today, after this call, I'm going to be hooking up with someone here to give me Adebayo's number. And once I tell him we met during the SPE symposium, he doesn't need to think far. It's networking. So it's good that you're all part of SPE. This association is a great network. When you study abroad, you also meet people with diverse culture, behaviors. They're part of your network. Ultimately, networking, online networking is the end thing. We all have space in there. Let me ask you, what happens if I decide to Google you? First impression does matter, even online. It is already on record that some employers have refused other people offer based on what they saw them doing online. It is on record that 45% of employers have also used social networking to screen job candidates. What do you do on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace? So many space out there for us to network online. Bad-mouthing people is not a good thing. Bad-mouthing your ex-employer or colleagues, poor online communication, they are not encouraged because they also cause problem for us. You may not know when that happens. So it is always very important for us to carry out a social self-media audit. Make sure everybody you have in your Facebook account, for example, you know them, you know what they do. It's not just because you want to have followers or you want to follow people, you follow people you don't know or connect with people you don't know. Check them out before you get them in as your friends because they're also part of your network. Be careful about what you post because your behavior online is also what matters. That's what people say about you. Having said that, LinkedIn is one of the great virtual space to build professional network. And I want to believe that we all have found some space in there. You can connect to people you want to do things with professionally or even business. That is the great place to be. If you build your network well, you should be able to build strong relationship with people of similar or complementary interests, with both self-growth and mutual benefits in mind. So talking about that then leads us to stakeholder management, because networking is a means but not an end. That is the mistake some of us will make. We just want to network, we want to be everywhere. If you Google me or you Twitter, Instagram, I have 1 million followers. That is not it. The end is, how do you manage this network that you've built? Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So stakeholder management. What is stakeholder management? It is a process that enables us to develop strategies to secure support of identified stakeholder to our proposed idea. I have deliberately highlighted some of the keywords here. To develop strategies that would help us secure support from those people we have identified as our stakeholder. Because what you see happen oftentimes is that people just dream dreams. I want to be a billionaire. Everyone wants to be a billionaire. So you sit down there, you chat your way, map out things you want to do without even considering the people that this your proposed idea would impact. And by the time you now finish dreaming your dream and saying that maybe in the next 5 years you would have landed there, then you then decide to go and start talking to 1 or 2 persons you think is important. These are then your stakeholders. And they're like, hello, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to be part of this dream. Then what do you do? So it's when you're dreaming that dream that you begin to identify the people you want to be part of this dream so that you can come together, co-create and co-own. So who then is your stakeholder? Who is a stakeholder? I have also highlighted the keywords about who a stakeholder is. Is a person in key position. That means the person can make things happen. And whenever you dream about something, that person, what you have dreamt of will be impacted by that person. And this person's seniority, position, or influence means that that person can actually impact your plan. I want to use projects in this space right now, because even if I want to be a billionaire, it's a project, right? It's a project. So I must identify those people that will play roles in me becoming a billionaire, because it can never be all about you. It's all about people. So identifying the right people that will be part of that dream is very, very important. So what you see below, I think the slide didn't come out well here, the strategy that we use in identifying our stakeholders. You can see the circles. The blue one you have in the middle talks about building relationship, having an engagement that is relationship focused. When you build the right relationship, it then gives you a leverage to connect with the left and the right. That means I have an issue today, and I understand that this issue can only be solved by somebody called Mr. Adebola Bada in Total. I can just pick my phone and call him and say, Mr. Bada, I have a technical issue on HSC. I need your help. It will take another 20, 30 minutes of him asking me some starting question. How did you get my number? Who are you? How can I help you? Isn't that right? But if I had found a way to connect to him, have a relationship with him, he knows me. And maybe he might have even saved my number on his phone. And so when I give him that call, he's even like, oh, Precious, how are you? How can I help you? And when I tell him what I want from him, consider it done. In the event he's not able to do it, he can then connect me to whosoever he feels can do it for me. So in stakeholder engagement, we need to be very, very aware that relationship matters a lot. So the first set of engagement we have would be based on relationship. And there are some key fundamentals that we need to follow in following this process. You have an organization. There is no one person that does everything. So clarity of roles become very important. We must structure, coordinate it in a way that is smooth. It's also very important for us to have a repository where we dump everything we need for that relationship. So I call Mr. Bada, for example, and he say, okay, can I have this? Can I have it? Can I have that? It is at that point I start thinking, where do I get this? Where do I get that? Then it takes me another week, 2 weeks for me to get back to him. He will say, this lady is not serious. I don't think I want to have anything to do with her. But if I have stored all the information I need in a database, as he's asking, I'm pulling out and I'm sending to him. He knows that, yeah, this is this kind of person I should deal with. Our conversation with our stakeholder must be scheduled. You must schedule it. You don't just wake up one day and decide to call Ife Yunwa Jude because you saw her in SPE. And then you're calling her, she's not picking your call, probably because she does not have your number on her phone, you're getting upset. Maybe she even have your number on her phone, but at the time you're calling her, she is in an SPE symposium. How do you expect her to pick the call? Right now, my phone, I do not disturb. You try to call me, I can't pick it because I am busy. I have a scheduled engagement with SPE. So you have to schedule it. And when you schedule it, you calendar it and make sure that resolutions from each engagement are followed through. You close all actions before the next meeting. Then they will know that you're a serious person. You want to do business. Next slide, please. So these slides basically helps us to diagnose a stable relationship. We have talked about networking. You have connected to the person, and then it doesn't stop there. For you to have a stable relationship, you have to do a lot more. And we have what we call the 4Ds, which start by discover. Who are they? You need to identify who your stakeholders are. And then you need to categorize them in the map that shows who is this, what this person does, what person is able to do, how the person is able to connect to this person is very important. After you've done that, you then have to go another step further to find out their need concerns. This we do using what we call the NICE analysis. You find out their needs, their interests, concerns, and their expectations. If you've known all this about the person you want to start off a business with, you can agree with me that the conversation will be very, very smooth. Because you know the question the person would ask. You know where what you're saying is pinching the person. So you are able to respond and then move to the next D, which is then drawing up the accountability. The who, the when, the where. Who does what, at what time? What is the messaging? What do we expect from this conversation? I can't come to Ife Yunwa and say because Ife Yunwa sits as the manager of SYZ company, I come to Ife Yunwa today, I want a contract of 10 million. Ife Yunwa is able to because she has the capacity to approve that. Tomorrow, I come to Ife Yunwa, I want a contract of 1 billion. Ife Yunwa says, sorry, I don't have that capacity. That is done at the GM level. Do you then expect me to go and start engaging Ife Yunwa's GM? I need to go back to my own office as well, tell my GM that this has been escalated above my level. This was the discussion I had with Ife Yunwa. Please follow through and engage GM for us to get the 1 billion we require to expand the business. So it must be sequential. You must know who is talking to who, and then know the objective of the conversation, so that when that conversation is held, the resolution would be in line with your expectations. Having done that, you then get to the delivery model. These plans that you have now, you have to do what? Deliver them. The accountabilities needs to be clear. The execution plan needs to be very clear. And then you must monitor and document performance. It's not when somebody calls you, hey, Precious, how was that conversation you had with Total yesterday? I don't know. I even go to my database, no minutes of meeting, no tracker. Everything must be monitored to ensure that it's bringing out what we expect. And once you finish doing that, you then get to the review aspect. You need to, at any point in time, what worked well? How could we do it better? What didn't work well? What are the mitigation plans? It is not in all cases that things work the way you plan. That is why we have plan and actual. And when you analyze both, the variance becomes your mitigation, which you want to walk through at any point in time, and you reinforce and redesign. This is very important because change is constant in life. The only one thing that is constant is change. So you need to reinforce, redesign. You keep this process live. You keep, it's a circle. It doesn't die. You keep it live. You keep checking. As you're moving on, people are changing. If I were to go to the presidency 8 years ago, I will be talking to Jonathan. But today, I'll be talking to Buhari. You would agree with me that they are two different people. So the way you communicate, engage them, they are different. So you keep reinforcing and redesigning to ensure you have this stable relationship. Next slide, please. I've been in several conversations where people mix up stakeholder and customer. Oftentimes, people really find it difficult to differentiate between two. We have defined a stakeholder. We say it can be anyone that may have interest or impacted with what you do or what you plan to do. Who then is your customer? You can see that for stakeholder is plural, but for customer is singular, meaning it's just one person. They cannot be two. This one person is the person that has the power to approve your cost, your budget, and the time you spend in whatever you do. Just one person. I call this person the showstopper, one man squad. That is your customer. And this is the person you want to satisfy at any point in time. You don't want this person to be upset. We are getting into a business, for example, we want to discuss with Total that we want to build a new FPSO. Who is the person in Shell, for example, that can approve that we go ahead with this project? That person becomes the customer. Who is that person in Total also that can call the shots? That person becomes the external customer for this project. It is very important that the level of influence matters here. This person is the person that can agree to all the changes. Your time, your cost, your objective. It is one person. Please, in whatever you do, whatever role you find yourself in your team, it is always important that you think as a project manager. And you always ask yourself, who is my project customer? Let me step back a little bit. Let's think about the home, for example. In a home where we have the father, we have the mother, we have the children. In an ideal situation, who is the customer in that home? I know a lot of you already have the answer. It is the father. Because the father in Nigeria is the head of the family. It's the father that says whether the children will school in Nigeria or they will school abroad. It's the father that has the final say. He is the customer. So it is the father that me, the wife, for example, would want to satisfy. It is the father that the children will want to satisfy. They will want to demonstrate that, oh, daddy, allow me go school abroad. If I go abroad, I'm going to be very, very matured. I'm going to make sure that I concentrate on my studies. I will not fail you. Isn't it? You should always know who your customer is. And at any point in time, please, this person must be satisfied so that the project can go ahead. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide. And on this slide, I would just like to summarize and to say to us that the successful stakeholder management requires that we check our intention before we engage with a stakeholder. This is not a formula for feigning sincerity. No, not at all. It is a model of how our behavior builds trust. Since this conversation, I deliberately did not want to talk about trust because I wanted to have that conversation in this space. Trust is very important. Where we may need to place a more conscious attention in order to be effective, trust becomes very important. We have different trust profiles. Being self-aware of this bias we may have helps us in relating to one another and in building trust. Trust is the foundation for most other leadership capabilities. Be it when you are coaching, when you are influencing, when you are inspiring, when you are delegating. Trust is important. If Ifeyinwa wants to delegate to me right now, that maybe something came up and she needs to dash out of this meeting, based on the relationship I have with her, I will know whether Ifeyinwa is saying the truth or she's trying to play some hanky-panky. That is because of the trust or the way I perceive her. So we must, at any point in time, in building this stakeholder relationship, maintain the right trust. It helps the relationship. Increasing the trust by being more credible. We have to be more credible. We have to be more reliable. We have to be intimate when it comes to relationship. And when I use the word intimate here, what I mean is we must be friends. You should be somebody that when you call me, I have a smile and I'm picking the call because I trust you, because I can rely on you, because you are dependable. And by being self-oriented, less self-oriented, let's know that it's not all about us. Most times we just think about ourselves. We think about what is it for me in this relationship. You don't even think about what is it in it for the other person. In this relationship, it must be a win-win. You must always, at any point in time, try to strike a win-win. The person you are talking about, what is this person hearing? Are we together in this game? What are you bringing on the table? What do you expect me to bring on the table? I understand that some of us in this call are still students. Some of us who are still planning what we may be transiting into. And we should understand that it's about people. Is it rice you want to start selling food stuff? Or do you want to open a club? It's about people. There's nothing you want to do that is about yourself. So the way you connect with people, the way you manage people matters a lot. The impression you leave matters a lot. Permit me to leave you with a quote that your network is your net worth. Our dearest friend told us about our net worth. And when she was doing the mathematics, I just thought about it. When you have the right network, you're already on the way. This quote is from Porter Gale. She's an internationally known public speaker. She's a networker and also an entrepreneur. So you can imagine her level of network just because she chose to network. So let's go ahead and build the right network. No man is an island. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, wow. This is a subject on its own. I would like to suggest that we call for a very focused discussion on this subject in the future. Thank you so much, Precious, for pouring out so much in such a short time. I took notes and I saw the chat box, messages dropping, quotes upon quotes, people taking on several takeaways from this. Wow, this is amazing. And where do I start from, really? You left us speechless, I must say. We need to build network. We need to build network. Whatever our goals, we cannot do it by ourselves. It is people that we need for any of those ambitions to be fulfilled. So we need to build networks. And at the backbone of that network, there has to be trust. And this comes from being reliable, this comes from being dependable, this comes from being credible. And these are traits, or these are qualities that we need to focus on building whenever we create a connection or a network. Thank you so, so much. We really do appreciate your taking time to give us such a very open conversation or topic. I do not see any question yet. So if you have a question, please unmute and ask your questions, please. This is an open forum. We want to make sure that people live here learning the things they should learn to improve their lives going forward. Okay, while the questions are coming in, Dorcas, can you give me the citation for the next presenter, please?
Okay, so if we can have the three presenters, then all the questions goes to the panel, because we'll now put them in the panel, so we can take all the questions.
Great. Thank you so much, ST. Okay, so let's get the citation for the next presenter. You will need to expand this a bit for me. Thank you. Oh, great, thanks. Okay, our next presenter will be talking to us about the legal side of things, and her name is Ozim Ifeoma Obasi. She's the Executive General Counsel for GE Gas Power, Sub-Saharan Africa, General Counsel GE Africa for the General Electric as a company. You can reach her on those contacts that we have there. Just to give an intro to Ifeoma, Ifeoma is a lawyer with over 19 years experience in the energy industry, commercial transactions, corporate practice, regulatory compliance, legal advisory services, project finance, localization, joint ventures, and business development. Trust that Ifeoma will be telling us all the legals, everything in the legal spectrum of all of these high experience band. Ozim graduated from the University of Nigeria in 1998. Yay, go Lioness. I'm a Lioness too. She was called to the Nigerian bar in October 2000 and admitted as a solicitor of England and Wales in 2011. She also obtained her LLM in energy law and policy, and an MBA in international business transactions in 2007 and 2008 from the Centre of Energy, Mineral Law and Policy, University of Dundee, Scotland. She started her career in 2000 with Serenity Legal Union and Partners, Port Harcourt, and also worked with Alex Legal Practitioners, Lagos, from January 2009 to October 2010. Between 2003 and 2006, she also worked as a legal advisor, company secretary for Oil Data Wireline Services Port Harcourt, a subsidiary of Oil Data Logging Services Houston. Her main area of focus, besides legal advisory services, was business development, marginal field opportunities, and joint ventures. She joined GE Oil and Gas in November 2010 as the SSA Regional Counsel. In this role, she supported commercial operations, growth opportunities / market entry, business development, joint venture localization initiatives, regulatory compliance, company secretarial, labor and employment matters, and general legal advisory. With the merger of GE Oil and Gas with Baker Hughes to form BHGE in 2017, Ozim covered East Africa and Equatorial Guinea as the Geo-Market Counsel, with the overall responsibility for BHGE's legal and compliance in the region, including supporting the growth and business development across the full stream of the value chain for BHGE. Effective 2020, Ozim became the Executive General Counsel of GE Gas Power Business in Africa. Woo! She is based in Accra, Ghana, and has the overall responsibility for legal compliance for the GE Gas Power Business in Sub-Saharan Africa. She is also the General Counsel for GE Africa, responsible for managing GE's risks and brand across various businesses in SSA. Oh, wow. So we yield the floor to Ozim. Sure, this would be one hot conversation again. Thank you, Ozim. You are welcome. Please, everyone, join me to welcome Ozim to the virtual podium as she takes us through the legal side of this conversation that we've been having over the course of these 3 days. So Ozim, over to you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much, SPE, for giving me this opportunity to also share with the team. So this evening, early evening, we're going to have a conversation. And when I was invited to the program, and of course I saw all the technical ladies on the panel, I'm like, okay, yes, you are the only lawyer in this group. However, I'm not here to speak legalese because I was done with legalese a long time ago. So I'm going to have a conversation with us, and I hope you can participate via the chat or during the question session, just to give us a perspective of what is a lawyer really doing in the midst of these techie people or engineers, right? And I know this is also some form of career guidance for a couple of people who are not yet sure what they want to do with themselves. And even if you have graduated, you may also have an idea of which area that you want to focus on, and you may not even, right? So this is not for you to say this is how a lawyer in the oil industry or energy sector, this is what you have to do, because your ideas might change. However, we want to give you the opportunity to open up your mind, to think as broadly as possible, connect with people. And I must say thank you to Chinenye and Precious for setting the right stage for us. And thank you particularly, Precious, for talking about networking, and Chinenye for talking about your net worth. And I'm going to bring all those into play in how, as a lawyer, you can add value to the energy industry, right? Or whatever industry you find yourself, because somebody listening, participating today may decide to go into totally different career, whether it's entertainment, whatsoever, but there are some nuggets that stand the test of time, regardless of what you want to do, whether as an engineer or a Nollywood star. What Chinenye has said would make sense to you in your financing. What Precious has also talked about will make sense to you in your network. And what I'm also going to talk about, though wearing the lawyer's hat, because I'm a lawyer by profession, this is what I enjoy doing. However, these are general life principles that you can apply regardless of where you find yourself. So starting off, of course I was called to the Nigerian bar and qualified in England and Wales as well, like Ifeanyi mentioned. First of all, if you're working in a particular jurisdiction meaning like any country you find yourself in, you would do well to know at least the laws that apply to the country or the sector where you work. So if you're in the energy sector, information technology sector, mining, whatsoever, you do well to at least know who the regulators are, who your stakeholders are. Like Precious mentioned it in her presentation, these will vary, right? And the key thing is for you to know where to reach to get information. Now, a couple of people joining this session, I don't know what your expectations might be when you hear of a lawyer coming to speak to you. I'm not coming to reel out the laws you need to read up, because that is not like there's no one size fits it all. Like they will tell us in law school that God forbid that a lawyer should know all the laws. However, you should at least know where to find them. And that is the basic principle of life. Whatever you are doing, know what questions to ask and who to ask. So if I'm working in the energy sector, for instance, I should at least know who the regulators are. I should know Department of Petroleum Resources. I should know the Ministry of Energy. I should know who my customers are. I should know who the major companies are, who I'm going to bid, for work, etc. So focal points, the point is, wherever your focus is, know who your target audience is and know what regulations are relevant to where you're doing business. Now, the theme of this event talks about how you equip yourself in a tech world. And sometimes for those of us who are not technologically inclined, we shy away from technology, right? You think, oh, this is something for the engineers or the IT nerds, etc. However, I don't know how a lawyer in today's world will survive not knowing how to use the computer, or knowing what applies or what the trends are, or even where to find them. Probably in the 90s when we were in school, we had to go to the library to look at the law reports, books from the shelves, etc. If I ask any student in the audience, their tab, everything is on their phone or everything is on their laptop, right? You can access all these things virtually. Did we ever, a year and a half ago, anticipate that we will be in a conference such as this, dialing in from wherever we are? So imagine if you don't even know how to operate the laptop, how much more connecting virtually. So one has to be up to date with trends. And from a career engagement perspective, when I'm engaging with young people and we are discussing anything career, first question I ask is, are you active on LinkedIn? And sometimes you sadly hear, no, I'm not. At least you know about it. The worst I've heard is, what is that? And I'm like, how do you spend time on Facebook, Instagram, and you want to make a career and you don't know what LinkedIn, or you don't even have a profile? So like I tell my mentees, LinkedIn is your Instagram. LinkedIn is your Facebook. You should be more active on that platform than you are anywhere else. Chinaya started the session talking about finances. How do you invest data, etc., that will not translate to value? Whereas you can use that same data, that same financial investment, log on to LinkedIn, make the right connections, attend seminars, be part of your professional association where you will meet people that will be useful to you in your career journey, right? You wouldn't, so imagine as a young adult, you want to make it, everybody wants to be a billionaire, right? We heard that. But how? It's not going to drop from the sky. I'm going to connect all the things you've heard this evening back to what I've done personally and what I'm still doing. So imagine you want to be this mythical millionaire. You've heard about your network, you've heard about your network, you've heard about your financing, you've heard about the legal framework of it all. Leave the law, it will always be there. But the point is, do you even know how to access them? The finance, at this stage in our life, probably you're the young career starting up life. You may have limited funds, except you are, born into wealth, or you have access, really don't need to work for a living, right? You're just working for pleasure to keep busy. Assuming that, like most of us, you need to work for a living, opportunity cost of things, and you have money that can be enough to buy you that designer handbag, and at the same time, and you need to belong to professional network like SPE, or for us lawyers, the Nigerian Bar Association, or International Bar Association, or any other professional qualification like the Institute of Chartered Secretaries or Arbitrators, or even go for your master's in law. It's your choice. Personal gratification versus investing in your career. Now, deferred gratification is what you definitely need to learn at this stage in your life and throughout. Because at every point in time, you need to know what it is that adds value. Now, you may have qualified in one particular jurisdiction. Even the jurisdiction you're qualified in, you may not even know all the laws applicable there, but you should be able to know where to find them. So assuming the trend is changing, people are being qualified in multiple jurisdictions, you have opportunity to work internationally, and you are not open to learn. How about finding out, okay, I want to work in Shell. So what if Shell decides to take me to Netherlands or want to take me to Canada or wherever? How do I compete? Of course, for engineers, it's easier because you're an engineer. They drop you in NOPO, drop you wherever. It is that skill. For us lawyers, it's not the same because I'm not going to wake up today and say I'm moving to France to practice law. I'm not qualified in the civil jurisdiction, which is what is the legal regime in France. I'm a common law lawyer because of the English heritage we've got. Now, even as the common law lawyer that we practice in Nigeria, I'm not going to up and carry my suitcase and start moving to UK to work as a lawyer. How? The only way in is to get qualified in that jurisdiction. That is where you have to intentionally invest in that future that you want. If you want to work outside of your country or the area of your primary qualification, you have to think of qualifying in multiple jurisdictions. Then we come again to your, Precious did talk about networking. Now for us lawyers, belonging to your bar association is very important. A lot of lawyers don't bother with that. However, I will forever preach professional networking because that has helped me in my career journey. The first opportunity I ever got to work in a law firm was because of my professional membership and staying close to lawyers. And remember, like we say in Africa, it takes a village to raise a child. That is the same way professionally. It takes a village of other professionals to raise you, to help you navigate your career. So there is no way you will say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I don't know what goes on in my professional network. Or I'm a lawyer, I don't want to be bothered about SPE. If you want to work in the energy sector, Google is your friend. Thankfully, we have these in our fingertips. Be part of your own professional network and also know at the minimum what network your customers or your stakeholders value. I'm a lawyer in the energy sector. I'm not an engineer, but I know of SPE. And in as much I'm not a techie person, when I was doing my master's in Dundee, we all belong to SPE because I am not an engineer, but I'm going to work for them. If I'm targeting to go back in-house, I'm going to review contracts that the engineers would work with. And I'm not going to be reviewing those contracts wearing the legal hat. I have to understand what they do. And part of it is also finding body outside of core area of practice. I work in the energy sector. What I do that works for me and is helping me, I have buddies outside of the legal function. I have a buddy in the engineering team. I have another one in finance. Of course, you know how they say lawyers and maths, not best of friends, but I need to understand these things to add value to my organization. So what I do, I just go to them, please tell me in a layman's language, what do you sell? What do you do? What would go wrong with this equipment? Now, hopefully there are lawyers in this audience. You know, when you teach you about warranties, indemnities, you know the language, the verbosity. When you're working in a business, in a corporate environment, nobody is interested in your verbosity. They want to understand, how does this help me mitigate risk? How do I manage my liability in case something goes wrong? Then the right question to ask is, What can go wrong? You hear things like the Christmas tree. I'm sure like the first time I heard the Christmas tree, I'm like, okay. Of course, the only Christmas tree I knew was Christmas decoration. Until somebody told me, oh, it's something that they put in the wellheads to manage the pressure. I'm saying, okay, we sell Christmas trees. What keeps you up at night? What do you worry when you're selling Christmas trees to Shell? What can go wrong? Just explain it to me as you would to a 5-year-old. And they will tell me, then when I'm reviewing a contract, I don't have to put copy and paste. Like in law, they will tell you about precedents. Don't copy and paste. Take what is necessary. And that's why you see some contracts, they say not applicable. If something is not relevant, don't put it there. They're not paying you per word like they used to pay lawyers in the 1800s. Business has moved beyond that. So still keeping up open the conversation and learn from people within your organization, within your professional network and outside. Attend seminars. Thanks to COVID, you have opportunity to just stay at home and log on to things. Even if they're not in your core area, log on. You would hear one thing that would add value. When the first two speakers were speaking, I had my notes. And of course, I'm going to go back to them, right? And I learned particularly on the financing and networking, which I mean is very, very useful. And never forget, we are Nigerians, believe most of us on this call. We are a country with diverse human resources. There are at least 10 Nigerians that can do what you do, or even better. So what will distinguish you? Your network and your attitude. Do whatever you do as if it is yours, you own it. Don't come to work as if, oh, this is just what puts food on my table. And a lot of things can put food on your table. Enjoy what you do. And if you don't enjoy it at the moment, find what you do. Find something that will give you that joy. And until you get there, always have a sense of ownership. Attitude will always surpass aptitude. Ask anybody in HR. When it comes to aptitude, expertise, so many people know what you know. But your attitude is something that will distinguish. Are you willing to go the extra mile? Are you willing to push yourself? Are you willing to keep up with the trends? And what I'm careful to use the word trends because when they talk trends in this social media age, we think somebody who is so much up to date with what's going on in the social media sector, how many followers you have. No. If followership translated to wealth, a lot of people will not be talking about the people that have billions, millions of followers on Facebook, Instagram will be the wealthiest. I don't know how many followers Dangote has, or even if he's on social media. By the end of the day, some other person on Instagram that may have 1 billion and you may not be able to pay your bills. So at every point in time, set your priority. Know what is important in the sector that you work. Know where you want to be in 5, 10 years' time and feed it. If it is that you want to be the general counsel of Shell, do you know the current general counsel of Shell? How did he or she get there? What skill set do I need? What does Shell do? Okay, what if I move from Shell to Google? Can I fit in? What do they do? How adaptable am I? Right. So a lot of these things would keep helping. In just, I know a couple of maybe conversations will continue during Q&A. On a final note, from a lawyer's perspective, no regulations that affect the industry that you work in. Know the laws applicable to the sector that you work in. If you can never know all of them, but at least know where to find them. And the laws keep changing. If you doubt me, ask anybody, any environmental lawyer, especially those that have worked in the Niger Delta region. You think you have paid this, obtained this license or paid this or paid that. By the time the auditors come, they will show you one particular regulation that you missed. So keep up to date with all these things and know where to find those answers. And finally, prioritize your profession. If you want to make a career as a lawyer in the energy sector, feed into that by reading up learning, associating with people in your profession and outside. And outside meaning your other stakeholders in my own world, particularly the companies that you will be working for or the functions that you will be supporting. Try it to help you to at least know what they do for a living. I'm going to pause here and pick up the conversations during the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Amazing presentation from Ozim. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your taking time to explain the legal engineering side of things to us. So basically what I took away from this is whatever you do, right, you have to invest in what you want to get later in future. So deferred gratification is what it is about. For those of us that are just coming up, for those of us that have been in this business for some time, we also need to find those areas where we need to scale down and improve ourselves for what we intend to achieve 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line or whatever time we think this goal will be set. So we need to focus on investing in those things. And it takes a village of other professionals to raise another. So yeah, this village of SPE is an amazing one where people come and they are built up. Testimonials have been coming in from several angles, how this association over the years, wherever you are. I mean, Ozim was a member of SPE when she was in the UK. So you can see how vast this association is. Thank you so much for sharing, and we will continue the conversation in the Q&A session where these panelists will still talk about some of the questions that people have been throwing in. So we go on to the last presenter, and that is Isioma, my own sister. Let's see her citation, please, Dorcas. So I can just go ahead and talk about Isioma. I mean, tell you guys what I know, but let's hear the formal citation. Okay, here she is. Isioma is a maintenance planning and performance lead for Shell in Nigeria, working with SPDC. Isioma is a graduate of electrical electronic engineering with over a decade of experience in upstream energy industry. She is currently the maintenance planning and performance lead for SPDC. She's a production engineer, skilled in maintenance of production assets, investigation and problem solving, and deploying game-changing strategies and practices. She's excited about the infinite possibilities that learning holds for human life. And she explores learning via traditional thought structures and informal means. She has enrolled in several courses and certification after university beyond workplace learning opportunities. She's a certified maintenance reliability professional. She has a master's in engineering business management from the University of Warwick. She's a mom of 2 and one half of a dual career couple. What Isioma did not add here is that she is the lead of the Women Network for Shell Company for SPDC in the Port Harcourt section. And yeah, let's welcome Isioma to the virtual podium. Isioma, please show us the way of learning in this time. Hello, Isioma, can you hear me? Okay, I see that.
Hello, Ifeoma, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm so excited to be here today. Please confirm who's sharing screen or if I should share my screen.
She can go ahead.
Okay, can just go ahead and share some so that you take the pace, take it at the pace you want. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this presentation. I'll be talking briefly around continuing education, and I hope that you'll be able to pick one or two things, and we'll discuss more around it in the course of the presentation. So please let me know when you can see my slides clearly. As Ifeanyi has already introduced me, I currently work with Shell, but aside from working with Shell, I'm involved in so many other voluntary activities as a part of my continuing education, effort. So I think we would start from, why do you need to actually continue learning, right? Why do you need to continue learning? And what's this continuing education around? Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, can see it.
Great stuff. So why do you need to continue learning? I think the biggest case for me that I would like to share with you today is around the multiple millions of dollars that stay trapped when you do not invest in yourself, right? And you do not continue learning. You become obsolete and you can't fit in the world. Another compelling case for you to continue investing in yourself and continue developing yourself is the sheer amount of money that companies that are already established really continue spending on research and development. I would like to share with you, like, what do you think, what do you think is the average amount? Please, you can use the chat box. What do you think is the average percentage of the revenue companies spend on research and development annually? The percentage of their annual revenue that they use on research and development. Can you just put it in the chat box? If please help me with the figures people are putting. Do you think it's 2%, 1%, 50%?
Yeah, somebody said 60%, 20.
Okay.
There is 25%.
Okay. Okay. So those are quite high figures, really, because remember that these companies need to also run their business, but I like where you're thinking. So actually the recommended amount or the average amount is actually 15%, but you will see a range. And these are companies that are already established in the industry. They are not startups, right? So you can imagine a company that is just starting, or if you look at yourself as an entity, how much of your revenue and your income should you be investing in yourself? And when I talk about investment, I'm not talking about just your money. I'm thinking of your energy, your time, because those are really valuable resources. As students and early career professional, your youth is really priceless. There is the value of the 1 hour of your time when you're 18 or you're 25 is what more than when you're like 50. So you need to treat your time and your energy as a premium resource. So now, how do we learn? I was talking about learning. Sometimes you consciously learn, you enroll, you go on a course, you go on a certification program, and then you learn. But sometimes you learn subconsciously, like like now, if you're in an environment where everybody writes, you grew up in a family where everybody writes with their left hand, and you start writing with your right hand, and they say, no, you must write with your left hand. You begin to start writing with your left hand, and that's normal to you. So we learn consciously and subconsciously from taught classes, from observations, and from lived experiences. For example, if you put your hand in the fire and it burns you, the next day, when you see the fire, would you put your hand in it? Not really. So I want to just draw our attention to learning is beyond the conscious taught classes and structured classes. You can also learn via experiences, and we're going to talk some more about it. So I promised I was going to share what, on the average, what companies invest in themselves. So you can see that in the computing and electronics industry, the percentage of their total revenue that they spend on R&D is 22.5%. And it's like the highest in the industry. In our own industry, about 6.1%. So this question now goes to, person's already in the workforce, right? You're already earning a salary, you have an annual income. How much of your time and energy in terms of percentage do you reinvest in the continuous development of yourself and continuing education of yourself? Because research and development is not just charity, it's not for doing sake. It's actually committed to your long-term growth, right? It shows how much you really want to invest to learn more about the industry you are in and to remain relevant and competitive. So now let's take it to our lives. So how do you now do that? So are you really committed to your long-term growth, and do you want to stay competitive in a global talent pool? The rise of the fourth industrial revolution and the tech economy has reduced the barriers to access global talent. So if a company is based in Nigeria, they are not limited to just employ people in Nigeria. They can employ people all around the world with the rise of also remote working and technologies to facilitate that remote working and remote workers' productivity. So it's very important that you are very intentional around the percentage of your energy and time you invest in strategic continuing education. Precious, I think, mentioned that, and even Ozim, they mentioned that the pandemic has presented an opportunity for us to learn. You can be part of so many things. But I would say that you can attend so many Zoom sessions in the spirit of continuing education, but I'm an advocate for strategic continuing education. You don't just go back to back learning so many things and you don't have no space to even apply it, or you do not even know why you're even seated in a Zoom session. You should attend it, but you haven't thought about it. And it's also, you also know that most people, Nigeria's unemployment rates as of 2021 is 33%. And it was 27, it has been double digits for a while. So we have a lot of educated people that are unemployed or underemployed. Underemployed means, oh, you studied petroleum engineering, but you are probably doing a secretary, or you're actually doing like a typist work when you studied 5 years of petroleum engineering. Underemployed means you're a lawyer, but you're actually driving a truck somewhere, or you are being a receptionist somewhere. So that is underemployed. So Nigeria has a real case for, we have a lot of people that are educated but are not employed. So that's why you need to be strategic about what you classify as education and what you invest your time in. So I would ask a question: what is your biggest challenge in continuing education? You can please type it in the chat box. Is it cash? Is it time? Is it completion? Is it overwhelm, or making a choice? That means you have so many things. What do I do first? Or is it the investment versus value dilemma? Just let me know what your biggest challenge is, and that feeds into the next part of my conversation. What is your biggest challenge? Is it money? Is it your time? Is it starting and not completing? Are you overwhelmed? Is it making a choice, or it's the investment versus investors versus value dilemma? Please use the chat box if I'm curious to hear what people are putting in there.
All right, we have things dropping: cash and time, completion, time and completion, investment value dilemma, cash and completion, cash and time. Yeah, starting and not completing. It's all within that spectrum.
If you stay to the end of this presentation, I will share a summary of my own continuing education story. So you'll see that most people have one or two, or even a combination of all these challenges. But now I'm going to try to give some advice based on experience and what I've observed. I must say it's my experience and what I've observed. It's not the silver bullet, right? But how I really view continuing education in a way that, that has been effective so far. So remember, I said that the education is not just about taught classes, it's also about lived experiences. So the first step is that you need to identify where you are now. What is your current state? Or am I a student? Am I in year 4? Am I in year 5? Or am I an early career professional, or am I doing NYSC? Have I had 2 years of experience, 3 years of experience? But identify, and this applies for anyone, even if you're a board director. You need to identify your current state and stage. So it requires reflection, and you need to be honest with yourself. You don't need to share that with anyone. And when you have identified your current state, I would say most people will.
Okay, network issues. Hoping she comes back. Okay. While we are waiting for Isioma, I think we lost her. While we are waiting for Isioma to come. Okay, she's back now. Yeah, great. Okay, Isioma, you need to unmute.
Hello? Sorry about that. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay,
we can.
I could not hear Ify. Thank you so much. Okay, so that I think is the world in Nigeria. So we'll start. You have to identify like where your current state. When you've identified your current state, I advocate that before you identify your desired state within a set time frame, I think you need to do some research. And that's where for me, I think that's the twist to the continuing education that people identify where you are and where you want to be. But in between that, I think you need to do research. So when you identify where you want to be, I will ask that you do some research, and here's some starting points for research. You think about, what does the world and industry need now and in the near future? If I'm in year one, maybe what the industry needs now is not what I should be concerned about, but is what the industry needs in 5 years' time. That's what I should be concerned about, right? And so you can just do that with simple Google. Just Google. There are lots of World Economic Forum, Energy Department. They always, International Energy Agency, they always have outlooks for the future, skills for the future. A lot of people have. And depending on what your driver is, you can go and say, okay, I want to earn very well. So you can say, okay, what are the highest paying jobs? You'll see a list and say, okay, pays them want to be employed. Then you can use, what are the in-demand skills? And then you get that. And please, can you confirm what you had last?
What are the in-demand skills? Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you. So what are the skills in demand jobs? Another thing to look out for is best places to work. Some people are very concerned with benefits, not just like cash pay, but like the whole experience of working. So you can see what are the best places to work. And there are lots of companies that do rankings. And when you find out these companies are the best place to work, then you can now drill deeper and say, what skills do those companies need? And when you have done that research, right, then you can then decide your point B, engineering. And I'm graduating this year, and I see that the jobs in petroleum engineering seems to be shrinking, and there's an energy transition thing going on. I may not say, oh, I want to work in an oil and gas company that does not have an energy transition portfolio in the next 5 years or an outlook in the next 5 years. Because what I'm saying is I'll be training myself in a skill that may not be useful in the next decade. So you have to be very conscious around where you are currently in your journey, what skills are needed in the industry you wish to participate in, and then position yourself as to where you want to be. And in where you want to be, I would advocate that you have a set timeline. Don't go into, oh, where I want to be 20 years, 30 years from now, because you need to have something that you are working in a realistic timeline where you can see your progress. It will be good to just say, okay, in the next year, in the next 2 years, this is where I want to be. Once you're clear as to where you want to be, oh, I want to move from, oh, I'm working in, maybe an oil and gas contracting company. I want to work in a multinational, in a Chevron, in a GE, in a Shell, right? You say, okay, I want to be a petroleum engineer in Shell in the next 2 years, or I want to be in energy in the next 2 years. Then we move to the next step. Remember that we have technology around, and it is a valid concern with people that are in petroleum or geoscience disciplines as to the validity of their skills in the next couple of, and I
Okay. Hello, Isima. I would suggest that we remove the sharing of the screen. Let Simeon share from his end so that it will reduce the demand on your bandwidth. Okay. Yeah, Simeon, just go ahead to the slide where she was presenting. So if she comes on, she'll just continue making the presentation. Okay, Isima, you're back. Let Simeon share and then you just present so that the demand on your bandwidth will not be so much. Yeah.
Okay, let's move with that. So
okay.
Then I have moved to the next slide. Simon, please help me move. Sorry about that, but let's just make the most of the time we have. So if you say, okay, you studied as a geologist or a geoscientist, and you just need to drill down to your core skill set. And when I say core skill set, I don't mean, oh, the job title you have in the company you're working or the name of your course. You have to think to say, okay, what do I actually do? What are the skills I actually deploy in this place? And I know that a lot of geologists and geoscientists do modeling. They do modeling, they do interpretation of patterns, and you do a lot of field visits, you go into the field, you have a lot of presentation skills. You have to be very good to observe. You should be able to do data correlation and be able to connect causality in different across data sets. So you now need to transfer those skills to say, okay, what other roles in the energy transition needs this core skill set? So for example, as a data scientist, I am doing, what am I basically doing? I'm using data to make sense and make things easier. So data gathering, my analytics, and my ability to clean and process data will be very key. So I can actually work as a data scientist in the energy transition, right? Because I do a lot of, I'm comfortable with field work and gathering data from the field. I can actually be a business development person in construction, in energy, or in utility. And because of the combinations of skills you have, which is communication skills, observation, modeling, presentation skills, you can be a team leader anywhere. You can be a venture analyst. You can find yourself in venture capital firms investing in this energy transition, and then you're able to use your core skill set to translate into value in that skill set. So you need to put off the title hat, I'm a geologist, I'm a geoscientist, and start thinking more in the set of the core skill set. So And this would actually help you to be able to identify opportunities easily, because the core skill set needed maybe in the energy transition, there may be no title as geologist working in a solar farm, right? There may not be nobody like that, but there may be somebody working in a solar energy farm that is a business analytics person. And so you can actually apply for that job and actually do that job very well. So move to the next slide, please. So now, how and where to learn. So we have started from identifying where you are. We are researching on what the market needs externally to understand what needs, and then you can now make your decision like, okay, I don't want to do all this data scientist thing. I think I want to move towards some other skill in demand, maybe AI or something, right? So now, how and where to learn. There are a plethora of information out there. I can say that you can learn for free, but the problem with learning for free is the sheer amount of self-discipline it requires, because you have not invested anything to it. And I will share an example, but there's a lot. You have edX, you have Coursera, my dear, you have Google and YouTube. What I've found from structured courses that I've attended is that all their content, most of the content are on Google and on YouTube. But the advantage of structured courses is that it has curated what you need to know, and it's more credible. You cut through the fast. But if you have enough time on your hands, you can learn almost anything on YouTube with demos and anything. I'm a fan of YouTube. You must hear that in my voice. But I would say if you know you want to get bang for the value, you don't want to waste your time, you don't want any ads coming up to distract you, then I would advocate going to Coursera and going to edX. You even going to SPE. SPE has a lot of continuing education courses and training, and most of the time it's part of your membership. You're not paying anything extra, but you need to just be focused. And that's why I said you need to research before you start learning. I advocate that because I've made a mistake with that, and I will share that coming soon. So another thing you need to think about is that learning is not just about degrees and short courses and all that. There's so many ways to learn. I have identified 5 ways I want you to consider as learning experiences. You can go for degrees, you do a master, you do MSc, you can do a PhD all the way to professorship. You can do short courses. You can focus on experiences, right? And that's gaining experience. You can volunteer, and you can do conferences, you can attend conferences, and you can apply for fellowships. The beauty of the thing about degrees, as you say on the slide, degrees, you need most of the time, if you're not a scholarship, the cost is high, the time required is high, it's very extensive, it's very deep. You may not be able to do something else while you're doing a degree course. For short courses, you can complete the course within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like the Power BI course you did now. But so what? After doing the short course, what do you then do next? So I advocate for a sandwich of these things. So once you have your degree and you maybe take a short course in a specific skill, which is okay, how to maybe run macros with Excel, Power BI, Azure, there's so many things, Python, pick anyone you want to learn after you've done your research. Then I would advocate that you look for the next opportunity where you can apply what you've learned before you learn anything else. It's very, very important, because sometimes we're constipated with knowledge. We've learned Power BI, we've learned Python programming, we're learning Azure, we're learning this, but no place to apply. So once you have finished a course, vigorously look for a place you can apply that learning. Else you run into the risk of learning and no application, and at the end of the day you are not competitive. You are just like the people out there that have so many certificates and no one wants to employ them, because you need experience. And let's say you can't get as I said, you can get experience through internships, apply, sometimes they may not pay you much, but you are getting an opportunity to apply your skills to a real life problem and get results, because at the end to you, right? And not everyone can really get employment straight after graduation. Unfortunately, we're not in that world anymore. The world now appreciates application and results. If you struggle to find an internship or where you can apply the thing, you can go into volunteering. So you can volunteer with SPE, volunteer with other organizations, and then you can just take up a small project during your volunteer part time and say, okay, I've learned Power BI. SPE has a lot of data. How do we visualize SPE data to convince the board members to invest in this? I can use Power BI to do that. So you can actually apply the skills you've learned in your volunteer position, so you can get some results that you can show in your resume. And then as you get more experience, or you get further in your career, I advocate for conferences and fellowships, really, because those are kind of things now I look towards. So it's very important that you do not pick just one thing and say, okay, you just go for serial short courses and you do not think of how to apply it. If not, you don't get the result. Please can move to the next slide. I'm bringing this to a close. And I will just say, before you start, once you've identified your course, you've said, okay, this is the required time I need to spend on it. Remember, when I say your resource commitment, I do not mean just your cash. You have some courses for $0, but it requires you to spend 8 hours every week on it. And remember that your time is premium. Your time is premium, especially your youth. So if it requires a lot of your commitment, then please make sure that you are so sure of the value you're going to get from it, and then the return on investment. If it's something you have to invest a lot of time in to get value, maybe in 20 years, then you can just play around with this scale and look for what you need to do to get value, not only in the short term, but in the long term. So there needs to be that value. Don't go and do so many things. Even the energy you spend in volunteering, you can't spend all your energy in volunteering and you're not getting any value. You need to be clear about the value you expect to get from even volunteering. Whether it's leadership development, skills development, networks you want to build, it needs to be very clear to you. Else you are wasting your resource, which is your time and your energy. I would like to end here. Please, can you move to the next slide? By summarizing what I've talked about. You need to remember why you want to learn. As I said, if companies that have been established for over 100 years still spend at least 15% of their revenue to make sure that they have secured their long-term growth and they continue to be competitive, how much you can actually be $100 million brand, but you are not doing that work to research and develop yourself. Then you need to assess yourself. Where am I now? Then what do I need to learn? Remember, what you need to learn is as a result of your research. Don't just go, oh, because Ifeanyi is doing an MBA, I want to move towards the MBA direction. You need to think about yourself and what the world needs and pick something. You can't give the world all the world needs. You just need to pick one part of what the world needs and work towards it. Then you need to pick about where you are learning from. I talked about Google, YouTube. I talked about edX and Coursera. Because if you want to learn something specific within a short time, it's very good. LinkedIn is also fantastic. What I would not advocate is if you're even a working professional, do not depend fully 100% on your employer. Your employer is already giving you experience. That is amazing. But you need to invest some of your time in your own self. How can you do your job better? And sometimes your employer may not have they have invested a lot. They're paying you money. They are giving you time. They may not have, enough to actually say, okay, I want if you to know how to do her job in the best possible way. But if you invest in yourself and do your job in the best possible way, you get something from there. Then make sure that you identify how you're going to apply and measure value and return on investment. Don't go into any continuing education exploit without being clear as to what is your application and your measurement strategy after it. This, as I said, is not just continuing education, but it's strategic continuing education. And I'm focusing on consciously. What you learn in the subconscious is as a result of, just where you are, and it just happens by serendipity. But consciously, you can strategically plan how you continue developing yourself. So I will end by sharing a short story. Please, can we go to the next slide? And it will be my own continuing education story. Yeah, I would say the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So, but I would end by actually sharing a very short story. Please go to the last, the second to the last slide, where you see a timeline, right? Yeah. Okay. So I graduated from the University of Benin, studied electrical and electronics engineering. Please move to the next slide. And of course, we had this internship period where you go to learn, right? And then I did it in Swift Networks. As an intern, then my mindset was, they were paying me maybe 20,000 then or 25,000, something like that. But my mindset was, I have 6 months. How do I get skills from these 6 months that allows me become employable in the next 1 year? Because I was going to go back to school, do NYSC, and then get back. So it's now I reflect, but from then I was always strategic as to, I'm not just going to be here to earn money, because some people are carried away. You're just earning money, you're just happy, you're wearing nice clothes. But you need to say, okay, how do I get skills that these same people would want to hire in the next 2 years? And I must say, when I went for my youth service and it was time to be hired for youth service, these people wanted to employ me. And I was like, I don't want to work here. I've worked here. And that's how I chose to work in a Etisalat instead of Swift Networks. But they wouldn't have wanted to hire me if I was a sloppy intern, right? Or if I was not focused, if I was not learning and making the most of it. But they really wanted to hire me. And I said, okay, I got a better deal. And I moved on to Etisalat. And I did some job with all this investment registrar in terms of data analysis and data input. I didn't know how useful it was going to be. I just did it to occupy time because I spent some time waiting for my NYSC. And then after my NYSC, I got retained by Etisalat. I was the only intern that got retained by, I'm not intern, NYSC person that got retained by Etisalat then, and that was their first set. And after some time, I got called in by Shell. Shell had, a nice structured graduate program, which that's why I joined Shell, because I had like multinational and a structured program, joined the company. So you would see that between 2010 and 2014, a lot of my first 4 years of work was so dependent on my employer developing me, right? I was focusing on work courses, work experience. I even attempted to invest in myself. I started an online MBA program, but I actually dropped out of it. I did just one course and I could not deal. The self-discipline and everything that was going on, I could not complete that program. And that's because I was not strategic. I just did it because people were doing things and I just picked it up, did it. At the same time, I also started my family. But from 2015 onwards, I've been very strategic about continuing my education, and I've started seeing value for all the investments I've been making in myself. And when I say investment, it's not just money. Yes, I paid for some of these things like, CMRP, to get certified, you pay, you write exams, you have to have a body of knowledge and experience. I had that. And then University of Warwick, I paid a lot for it. But some of the experiences like, speaking in SPE, doing some courses in edX, volunteering in Lean Network, and using YouTube to learn, but just things I invested my time in. But I can see the impact in my growth and trajectory within the last 5 years. So I'm a real sucker for this. So I would like to just end by saying, please invest in yourself, you're worth it. And now decide for yourself, what is the next step you're going to take after listening to these 4 presentations today? What is the next step you're going to take in terms of continuing education? Remember, I highlighted about 4 steps. You can go back to the poll and just put it in the chat box, what step you're going to take. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn. I don't mentor one-on-one. I mentor via affiliated associations like SPE, Lean, and some other groups I belong to. So thank you for listening, and over to you, Ify.
I'm just what do you call it now? I am full of a lot of things that I need to do after this meeting. I would resonate with one of the things you said. So dropping out of one of those online courses, really, Sometimes we just pick up things that people are doing and we say, okay, let me just put this one. This is trending. Let me take it up. But yeah, you need to be strategic. That is one point I noted. Isioma, thank you so much for sharing with us your strategy for continuing education, even as you continue to make impact in your place of work. You're at the side also strategizing to develop yourself going forward and looking at the future trends of things, trying to see how you can position yourself for what the industry needs in the future. Okay, so we have questions, and I must apologize. We have gone beyond time here. We are not doing well on time, and please bear with us. We would soon be coming to an end, but we will not do that without taking questions that people have raised. So we have a few questions. I will start with the last one that came in, which says, just give me a second. A lot of youth, okay, so this is directed to the second speaker. We are going in now to the what we call the panel session. And when we do that, we will just take a few thoughts from the panelists and we would come to an end. So this one is directed to the second speaker, and that will be for Precious, I suppose. A lot of youth are gradually creating a niche for themselves in the area of content creation that highlights the need for massive followers because they get paid when they've attained some specific number. How is this a misdirected priority, like you mentioned in your speech? Okay. So would Precious want to take that, or
yeah,
I
please
will
come
just
again with the question.
Okay, a lot of youths are gradually creating a niche for themselves in the area of content creation that highlights the need for massive followers because they get paid when they've attained some specific number. So on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube, they get numbers like followership of maybe a certain number in millions or thousands, hundreds of thousands, and they get paid for that. The person is asking, how is this a misdirected priority, like you mentioned in your speech?
Thank you very much. Remember that when I made my presentation, I was very clear that before you even get into that networking space or stakeholder management, you must be clear on what you're going into. So for these people that are making a lot of money because of the content, they are clear, they know what they are going into. They want to come in online, bring in some content that you and I may like, follow them, and they make money. So for me, it's okay because they already know what they want to get into. They planned it and they're making money. For some of us, we may sit back and think that these people are fooling themselves. They don't know what they are doing. Let me give you an example with Bobrisky. He's one person that really amazed me. I don't follow him. I'm not on Snapchat and all those things. But I even hear my children talk about him. I have friends, colleagues talk about him. Some people say, oh, this guy, he's gay, he's this, he's that, all sort of negative things about him. But he knows what he's doing. He's in that space to make money. So he posts the content that people want to see, people want to follow, and he's making his money. I can't fault him for that. His objective is clear. He knows what he is doing. So before you get into that space, be clear what you're going into and be ready for whatever consequences or even good that comes out of it. I hope this clears your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So that is one. The other question is, so for somebody that, just give me a second. For somebody that is studying geoscience, and I think Isioma already answered that question in her presentation. Okay, let's go. How can one effectively search and identify to ascertain the future demand skills in the industry to adequately align himself or herself especially for someone who wants to switch career. So you want to switch. How do you go about this, Isioma?
So I would recommend that you want to switch. So that means you're clear about where you want to go, and or you are still in the space of you don't even know where you want to go, but you know, I just want to live where I am. So I would ask that you can look at the World Economic Forum. There's a paper they print every year about skills in demand, the future of work. You also look at the Energy Council. They produce documents every year showing, you know, the way forward, right? You also participate in conferences, right? If you can just pick one or two conferences before you jump into a career, this is just another tip. Before you jump into another switch, a place you want to go, I want to move from energy to tech. Go and attend the tech conference and really see what they do there, right? And meet people, talk to people. They're like, okay, what is your job? What do you actually do from morning to afternoon and all that? Because you may see all the nice things they do in Google and like, oh, wow, Google is so nice. But someone may tell you that, man, this particular job I'm doing, I don't like it, right? So it's very important to do a lot of experimentation and exploration. So you can start from the World Economic Forum. You can start from some key strategic conferences in the area that you are, you know, ideating about. You may not end up there, but so just those two that you can actually start from there. So there's a future of work and a skill demand thing. I would share it with the organizers so they can share it with the people that registered. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And in line with that, someone is asking, please, can I get the link of the speakers? So can we get maybe your social media handles, so that people that want to connect with you can freely do that? Okay. Another question here is, yeah. Another question here is, why does it seem some firms are more interested in certificates than knowledge gotten from experience? Because I realize most undergraduates are more interested in clogging up their CVs with loads of certificates from online or short-term courses, even when they've not applied the knowledge gotten from those courses.
I think the people are for me today. So let's start from two things. There's something about two keywords: credibility and regulation. So there are some professions you are in that are heavily regulated, and that is by the local authorities or the international authorities because they are very critical occupations. Let us say like welding, right? So you need to know if you're in a heavily regulated profession, of course you need to get certified. You can't say, oh, I've worked in 5 welding companies, so I'm okay. No, you because it's safety critical, there needs to be an external validation of your competence beyond experience. Then credibility. When you're just a graduate with no experience, it is quite important to have some basic certifications and degrees, right? I think it's that struggle to be called to even get an interview. So people just pile up certifications and all that. But I bet you if you just have a good degree and probably you are volunteering in SPE, you do one of the short courses there and you start working on projects in your volunteer team, your CV will be more attractive than someone that has a degree and 10 certificates. If you just have a degree, 1 certificate in something, and you can say, oh, I worked in section so and so, manage the budget of this to impact 500 and something students within this thing. They want to talk to you rather than the person that has 10 certificates piling up. But remember that delineation I actually talked about earlier. If you're in a very regulated profession, like those that are in the materials, corrosions, welding, there are just some key things that are demanded. You can't just sit down and say, oh, I have experience, so I don't need this certification. You need to be externally validated to thrive in that profession.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for that. So yeah, I would come to the rest of us now. If there are no more questions, I do not see, or am I missing any of them? Dorcas, am I missing any question?
No, ma'am. Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. This is to Ozim. Please, can you throw some light on
If there's
copyright
a
law?
question you missed,
Okay, please.
there's a question you missed. I think when I made the presentation, one Valentine Sam Chooks asked the question around how you can redeem.
Yes.
Yes, you saw it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I saw
exactly.
it. Thank you for
Exactly. So
reminding
I
me.
saw that question
Yes, please
and I
take
picked
yeah.
it. And I think it's a great question. It's a very, very powerful question because somehow, somewhere, we must have done something that would make someone not to trust us. So when you thought about it and you want to regain this trust, the most important thing is that you need to ask yourself sincerely, why did I do what I did? It is very important that you ask yourself that question. When you are clear on the reason why you did it, you then find a way to reach out to the person and apologize sincerely. You need to be authentic. You don't just want to, you know how we do with God. Let me just try this one more time and I'll ask for forgiveness. You know, God is God. Human, we are human. So you need to be sincere. And when you're doing this, you also need to give the person you're talking to the time to understand why you are apologizing. Because some of us were in a haste. Because I offended Ifoma and I've talked to Ifoma. I don't know why she doesn't want to understand. Please give her time or him time to understand why you have come to apologize. And then you need to understand what that person needs going forward so that you work in accordance with their needs in order not to breach that trust again. You need to make it very clear in your communication. I was wrong, whether intentionally or not intentionally, but I'm not going to do this again. Then, with that, you can have a chance to start rebuilding that relationship and regain the trust that has been lost. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Precious, for that answer. Thank you. This one is to Ozim. Can you throw some light on copyright laws and plagiarism as it applies to publication on social platforms like LinkedIn? Are there things we need to be wary of? Yeah.
Yes. And that's, thank you very much for that question. And it's very, very important, especially in this age of over information. Now, when you're posting on a platform like LinkedIn, for instance, and even if you're, sometimes you want to write an article, you want to put a picture to enhance what you're writing, there's a link, there's a portion in LinkedIn that will ask you for the source. All you need to do is to acknowledge the source of that picture, for instance, that you're posting, so that it doesn't seem as if it's your original. And if you're quoting someone, make it clear that you're quoting someone. So it also doesn't seem as if that is your original quote. And when it comes to plagiarism, of course, the software are so advanced that all you need to do is to pass a work through the plagiarism software and it will show the extent to which you copied other people's work. So that era of copy and paste to write your term paper, to write your dissertation is over, because that software will reveal. And of course, once it's more than a certain percentage, like 20 to 40%, you automatically have to write that again. So it's very, and sometimes people want to be smart. You take the idea and put it in your own words. Remember, what you're being checked for is the idea. Is it your original? All you need to do is to quote your source. If it's in a dissertation or an essay, put it in your footnote where your source is, and that covers you. And don't overquote by making 50 or 40% of your work other people's ideas. That is also why you've been given opportunities to think through your own perspective. You don't have to agree with every writer on the internet or in every published article. You can have a different opinion. And thankfully, the sort of education we're having these days, nobody wants you to regurgitate what the lecturer has taught you. They want you to have your own perspective. So by having your own perspective, you're safer than, you're in a better position to be more original than copying. And for us lawyers too, of course, the precedents are there, so you'll be licensed to use those precedents sometime, but adapt it to what you're talking about. Don't just copy and paste those precedents. You maybe pick up a tenancy agreement and you copy it for a power purchase agreement. I mean, it doesn't relate to that, to the area that you're working on. But if you must put someone's idea on paper or in your social media post, please acknowledge the source. That way you're not copying someone's original work. Okay.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks for sharing. And another thing I found with that posting and acknowledging the source is, especially on social media platforms, you get to even expand your network. So people that have seen the original post or people that are connected to those, the other poster would then see your post. So it's for your own gain, basically. So yeah, let's just be genuine. Let's behave like people that have some integrity in even in posting on social media. Thank you so much for that. So I will come now to all the speakers for their thoughts and their final thoughts on some things, and I'll be directing it in some way. But there's a question around, I'm a student or I'm a new graduate, and this one is to Chineye. I do not have so much money. I don't have assets. Where can I start from if I want to build this financial freedom that I admire so much from your presentation? What's your advice? Chineye, you're muted.
Oh, yeah. Apologies. Yeah, so for me, no matter your earning power, it's never too late to start or never too early to start, right? The only difference is that the investment opportunity that you would want to take a hold of differs. As a student, what I was doing at that time was I would get my pocket money, right? And I would create my own budget in such a way that I could have a little bit that I could be using to put it into. Then I was just putting it in the bank. We didn't have a lot of opportunities then, like the money market instruments that the banks have. So it was either you do fixed deposit or Eurobond, and those things. Well, I didn't know much about them then, so I was always just putting that money in the bank, and I kept it for things like, once I'm done with my my year one, I was going to take that and just go to a hotel and stay. It was so stupid things. But the point is that I had an idea of what I wanted to save my money for. In this age, you have a lot of opportunities. You have money market with the banks. You have a plethora of investment apps, like, let me see if I can remember, Piggy Bank, I think, Crowdinvest, Vespi. I'm not endorsing all of them, just trying to say that you have options now, and you have them going as low as 5% to start an investment, especially with the money markets and with the bank. Those are opportunities you can take part in. Do your research, of course, and you need to understand your risk appetite. As a student, you cannot be saying that you want to put your money in high risk, like when MMM came up and a lot of people wanted to do that get rich quick scheme. If something is too good to be true, it's too good to be true. You're a student, so you cannot be taking high risk ventures. So you have to go with the low risk ventures so that you know that no matter what, your money is safe, right? And then the second thing again is what I talk about, the having your budget plan. It's very, very important. If you have your budget plan that details how you want to spend things, it will help you identify where you can trim down on your expenses. Maybe instead of going for is it Blue Bunny ice cream, I think it's called, which is very expensive, you can go for Super Yogo or something just so that you can have some money squeezed out to put somewhere.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So I come to all of us now, and I will start with Ozim. Your final thoughts. Let's hear you. Wrap this up. What do you think about the advice for equipping oneself? When you put it at the backdrop of the pandemic, the current situation we're in, the reduced investment in research or the underfunding of research by those known research bodies, and the unstable economy in the country. So what's your take? How do you advise generally?
All right, thank you for that. I'll just start by saying where others see gloom, see bloom. Look for opportunities where people see chaos. And personally, I'm an optimistic person. I'm also not saying that you should not be objective in your assessment. However, your perspective of life generally sets the tone for the sort of decisions or contact or interactions you make. So there are opportunities despite the pandemic. There are opportunities to improve regardless of the constraints that we have with online, and be adaptable, right? A lot of us don't like this virtual thing, but that is what it is. So sulking doesn't change anything. So be adaptable. The trends will change. Change is the only constant factor, like we've heard over and over again. So how do you go with the flow? Complaining doesn't do anything. So always look for an opportunity in spite of the chaos around you. So, and bring it back to what you do and how you want to add value. The teachers did not all resign because they cannot go back to classrooms. They found an alternative. The learning has to continue. And if someone is, like I heard some schools were then asking for a rebate since they were not in school all the time. As a business person, you also need to be flexible. Like I know during this pandemic, a couple of our customers asked for certain rebates, and we also did ask of our suppliers. And that is the general trend. And even the banking sector, some institutions reduce the interest rate just to cushion the effect. So what can you adjust in your lifestyle? And bringing it back to even your spending. If you were spendthrift, this COVID period should teach you to cut down on excesses, because nobody anticipated it. And we don't know if something like this could happen again. So if we've learned anything in the past 12 to 16 months, is that nothing is static, but as it changes, be adaptable. Thank you. So I think you're on mute. If anyone, you're on mute.
Thank you. Precious, over to you. Your final thoughts, please. Hello? Okay. Hello, Precious.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ifeyinwa. I want to leave us.
Sorry, before you go, there's a question there. Okay. As well, it came in late. So an introverted person, what would be your advice for creating connections and networking? You take it together with your final remarks.
Okay, thank you, Ifeyinwa. So let me take the question first. So as much as networking is beneficial to your career and even your personal life, the reality still remains that it doesn't come to everyone naturally. Yeah, an introvert, you just want to be by yourself, but you need to connect to people.
Break my heart.
Please go on mute if you are not speaking. Thank you. So for some people, thinking of how they will connect to someone brings a lot of fear already to them. But there is a good rule of thumb that helps us. You need to plan ahead. You need to have a few relevant points of discussion in your mind. If you know you're going to be in that discussion, in a situation where you want to be in that discussion, just put those notes down. If you're planning that today I'm meeting Precious, I don't know how to connect with Precious, But today, you already know that Precious likes networking and stakeholder management is key. You can scribble something around stakeholder management that you know that once you mention it, Precious will be like, wow, I will start having that conversation. Don't worry about what that person would say. Let your objective lead you to what you want to do. And you see that by the time you start today, it becomes easier. On my take around this symposium, I must say that I am very surprised with the number of participants we had. I was worried that we were running out of time. But each time I look at the participants, we still maintained plus or minus 5-10 people, and that makes me feel good. That is to say that we actually enjoyed being here. We actually must have learned one or two things. Even though I'm a speaker, I have learned a lot today from the other speakers, even from the people that were dropping some notes on the chat box. If you ask me again and again if I will be here when the opportunity arises, my answer is yes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your kind words. Looking forward to connecting with you physically someday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We really do appreciate you coming in and sharing with us. So I go over to Isioma. Your final thoughts, please. Okay, Chineye, you can take your final thoughts while we wait for Isioma to come on. Isioma, you're there. Can you hear us? Okay. Yeah, go on, Chineye.
Okay, so from my end, there's something I always have to keep reminding myself, which is that I'm never it's never too late for me to realign, reshape my mindset, right? And I came here to deliver a speech, but yet I'm leaving with a lot of information that I need to go back and rethink and revisit how exactly I'm planning my life. So this is when Isioma talked about learning through different things like online courses, etc. This is something that I've already gained, and it wasn't intentional, right? But now I have to go back and see how I can apply it. So that's something that I'm living with, and I hope each and every one of us that attended this lives with, right? A lot of you all are starting your journey right now, and this wealth of information, I didn't have it when I started up. So I made a lot of mistakes in my career path, a lot, and I'm happy that there are opportunities here that would help each and every one of you to reduce the amount of mistakes that you can make. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake so far as you learn from it anyway, but at least to reduce that exposure. So this was a wonderful, 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 wonderful organization.
Yeah, thank you, Chineye, for sharing with us. If Isioma is available now, we'll take her thoughts. If not, we will go over to the agenda. Doctors, please share the agenda. Let's see the next item. Okay, Stella, please, over to you. You give us the membership drive and talk. Okay, Stella seems to be having an audio issue. I see she has video, but she's not. Can anyone hear me? Let me just be sure.
Yes.
Okay, so Isioma is here now. Isioma, please give us your final word.
Okay, thanks SPE for organizing such a valuable session. In terms of final word, I would just say to yourself, be true, and as much as possible, by all means, continue seeking knowledge and learning, but do not seek blindly, right? Do not seek blindly. What I would like to end with is that more than money, your time is the most valuable resource you have to invest in yourself. So as you take your time to invest your money after working, if you happen to have money, always think about your time like money too. So where do I allocate my time, and what value am I getting from what I'm allocating my time to? And I'm sure that you would now be a more responsible user of social media and even social interactions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isioma, for that word. So if Stella is not there, Dorcas, if you're up to it, you can take the membership drive, or Marianne can do it. I will be at the backup if none of these can happen.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you once more. Thank you, SPE, for the opportunity again to speak and to talk about being a member of SPE. SPE stands for Society of Petroleum Engineers. We're the largest organization. What do? We provide information through technical lectures, conferences, symposium, journal papers, and publications to professionals, managers, CEOs of those involved in the energy industry, especially in the oil and gas industry. What are the different member portfolio we have in SPE? We have student membership, we have young professional membership and professional membership. Student memberships are for those in university under a student chapter registered under SPE International. When you graduate, you automatically become a young professional member. All you need to do is to transition your membership from student membership to young professional membership by sending an email to SPE to upgrade your membership. And then from when you graduate till your 35 birthday, you're still a young professional. Thereafter, you progress to the professional membership. And also, again, all you need to do is a few paperwork of emailing in order to SPE International to transition your membership. Being an SPE member is one of the best things that can happen to you because it brings you a lot of opportunities. Today, we've been hearing about volunteerism. SPE gives you that platform to volunteer in several aspects and areas. And also outside volunteerism, SPE gives you publicity. Sometimes I can't imagine how many people try to talk to me or reach out to me and they're like, oh, I met you at SPE program or something. So SPE gives you that publicity, both locally and internationally. And also SPE is a constant in your professional life. If you really want to grow in your professional life, in your career, then you should make SPE a constant in your professional life. And then also SPE will give you opportunity to serve as a mentor and also to be mentored, to be both a mentor and a mentee, either through online resources or programs or even physical programs and resources. And SPE has several profit and benefits of being a member. So I'm urging every single one of us to be a member of SPE, and not just a member of SPE, be a member of the best section of SPE Port Harcourt section. We won the best section award back to back, 2018 and 2019 and 2020 also. And our YPs are doing amazingly. Our YP section has won 3 years back to back, best YP section, and several other awards we keep bagging. And apart from our awards, we're also good at hosting amazing, impactful, insightful events like this one right now, right from Tuesday to today. It's been awesome time of learning and unlearning. So as a member of SPE, you get to benefit in programs like this, both virtually and physically. And also, you get to meet people in the energy industry in all over, especially in Port Harcourt. So be a member of SPE Port Harcourt section. It's one of the best sections you can be a member of. We're the largest student member with over 12 student chapter registered under SPE Port Harcourt section. And if you need help with our membership, the link is there. I've been dropping it. All you need to do is click that link, provide us your detail, and we'll reach out to you. If you've Or on the other hand, you can go to www.spe.org and you see the procedures there. And of course, it's going to ask you the section you want to be registered under, you can. Or you can reach out to me or any other of our organizers of this event, either by WhatsApp or so, and I can link you directly to our membership chair or our YP membership chair, who's going to guide you through and make it so much easy for you to become a member of SPE Port Harcourt section. So I'm looking forward to receiving a lot of notifications and interest in being a member of SPE Port Harcourt section. For those of us that are members already and maybe not up to date, I'm encouraging you to go renew your membership, get up to date so you can benefit and enjoy from all the awesome opportunities SPE Port Harcourt section provides. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dorcas, for that talk. So next on the agenda is it the pictures or the vote of thanks? Okay. So PC, please take us through the closing remark and the vote of thanks, please. Or is that the sequence? Do we have a vote of thanks after the closing remarks?
No, the vote of thanks is the last.
Okay,
now
great.
is just exactly access now.
Okay. Dr. Joe.
Okay, they can scroll over. I think you can just look through the slides. It just to show what we have in the coming weeks, I think. Do we have the slides?
Yeah. Okay, so these are upcoming events that we are having. Please endeavor to be a part of it. We will circulate, we have even circulated the flyers for some of these events. Dorcas, please go to the next one. Yeah. At your various platforms, please share, be a part of it. These are our events coming up.
Tibian, please go ahead and share the other ones. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so one of the things we do, one of our main focus is to reach out to our community, the communities around us. So these are projects that we are undertaking in the nearest future on the 9th of April, which is tomorrow. We're delivering face masks to people around us. Okay, we go to the next one. As part of our drive to also reach out to the needy and get to touch and impact lives, we carry out a car wash for charity. Bring your cars for us to wash. And the location is at this Lesuka, the car wash opposite Lesuka. We will wash your car very well. Don't take it to the car wash, please. You just need to drop a token that will go towards donation for a charity, and we are driving the cause through SPE. Our next key event is the YP Symposium. This one is packed. I would suggest that you clear your calendar for this one. It's happening on the 17th of April, and it starts at 10 a.m. You would want to register via this link. It's on our social media platforms on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. Just click on the link and register. We will drop it here as well for those that want to take it from here. We have a virtual conference, an exhibition coming up also on the 22nd to 23rd. You don't want to miss this. Okay, yeah. So this is another one going into the month of May. We are going to be going towards the climate discussion, how we defend our tomorrow. What is our role in doing that? Okay, go to the next slide. Yeah, this is around AI, clean energy. This one is sponsored by Total. We are going all the way on the 24th of April is the submission deadline. You have to participate if you are a student. You want to drop in your submission for this one. You don't want to miss this opportunity. These are ways that you show all of the knowledge you've been gathering over the years. So you make your submission for this annual technology, engineering and mathematics and fair. You can come together as a group and make your submission. There's also the one where we are raising 1.5 million naira to go to an orphanage and a Divine Benevolent Care organization. This is for a project, and the details of it is to get desktop computers and bookshelves, renovate their toilets, provide foodstuff, and make their living spaces comfortable. These are the ways we touch lives as SPE. And do follow our social media handles as listed here. You just type in SPE Port Harcourt, it will pop up, SPE PHC, it will pop up. Thank you so much. If we go to the next slide. Yeah, we'll take now the next item on the agenda. And I think that will be the photograph session, if I am not mistaken.
You're correct. You're correct. So, Simeon, are you ready? So, please, can we just put on our video?
Yes,
it will
please.
take just 45 seconds. Just put on your video, and then we have some paparazzi. They are going to take your pictures. And please, just kindly smile, because the style of your smile will tell us if you are really happy with what we have done today. It's very important for us. Okay, who is sharing? Remove the sharing so that we can see the faces of the people. Yes. And we have our lady Fenwise in spotlight for us. Very good. Are you putting me on spotlight?
Please don't spotlight me.
Okay, we're gonna remove you. Who is spotlighting? Remove spotlight.
Okay. Yeah, don't spotlight me, please.
Let me remove.
Don't spotlight. Okay, good. So this will take 40 seconds now. So please just smile, because from your smile, when we take the pictures and showing on social media, we'll say, yes, these guys and the ladies, they are so delighted for what we've done today. So we appreciate your smiles. Now we're about 20 seconds. Simeon, we know we have a lot of people, so try to be fast. On the 25 seconds, don't forget to smile, please. I know our panelists are still there. Please smile for us. 30 seconds. Simeon, catching up. 35 seconds. Getting there. Simeon, we're in our last seconds. And people are laughing, smiling. You can't keep them laughing like that. You know, it's just for a short period. Okay.
The last time I smiled for a picture like this, I think was at my wedding. Simeon, you have to pay for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Okay. So what do we have next? Closing voter times?
Yeah. So we will take Essie, how do you want us to do this? The early bird.
Should we take early birds before vote of thanks? So?
Yeah, very quickly. Early bird, very quickly. Very important.
Okay. So we have 20 persons that qualified for this. Please be on the call.
Dorcas, so because of time, just call out the 20 people and then we'll send an email to them to get their phone numbers. So it doesn't matter if they are still on call or not. Just call what you have and then that's it.
Okay, so I have Lotana Olikize. We have Kennedy Owo, Lehimo Ezekiel, Udodi Ochega, Caleb Bassi, Esther Oswago, Godwin Omonibi, Shikina Einstein, Okonkwo Ekene, Chinenye Ora, I think Chinenye is a speaker, but Chinenye Orajaka, forgive me and your names, please. Plain your names. Joshua Orabueze, Success Orakwe, Equus Chioma, Mitchell Eli, and Izondu Ilechukwu. So they don't need to drop their numbers, right? We said we're going to reach out to them.
Yeah, exactly. So with the email that they registered with, send an email to them, get their numbers, and credit them their data. So we can go ahead to the last one.
Sorry, can my name be switched with someone else? This is Jine. Just switch out my name with someone else.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll manage that. Do you have another name? Because our panelists are not part of this. Because normally they should come early than any other.
Hello,
Do you have another name
Job
here?
John.
Hello. Hello. Good
Job
evening,
John.
please. Good evening, please. I was one of the early birds. I think there was a mistake with the co-hosting thing on my name. Probably that's why it wasn't mentioned.
Okay, Favor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I remember. So we put Favor as a co-host. She came earlier and I asked that we remove her as co-host. I think they thought she's part of us, but I think you are a student, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take out Izondu then and replace with Favor then.
Favor, that's correct. I remember.
All right.
Thank you, Favor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, SC, the floor is yours. Imabong.
Okay.
No, it's
Vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Ify, for a job well done. So in the course of today's symposium, I have learned a lot from the first speaker who talked about the basic finances, where I took away know your net worth. The second speaker who talked about networking, I took away your network is your net worth. So for the law legal framework, for me, my takeaway was attitude surpasses aptitude. And from Isioma, the last speaker, strategic continuing education is key. So I would go on here to give the vote of thanks to all that have attended this 3 days training and symposium. Our distinguished directors, section chair, board members, professional members, YPs, and students. Showing gratitude is important because we do know that all things in life are a result of God's grace. Collaborative effort, whether it's direct or indirect, whether it's intentional or not intentional. We are grateful to God for the grace to plan and successfully execute this 3 days training and symposium, which we themed Equipping Yourself for the Tech World. On behalf of SPE Section 103 Port Harcourt Career Guidance and Continuing Education Committee, I applaud our able section chair, Mr. Debola Bada, all the board members for giving us the opportunity to carry out this very interesting and insightful event. I hope we all gained from it immensely. I did. I thank sincerely all those who contributed to the success of this training symposium, and particularly our section chair for showing us in practice what true leadership means. One of our very own directors, Mr. Debo Fagbami, the board members, the membership committee, SPE Port Harcourt Secretariat team, the trainers for day 1 and day 2. Toyosi Godwin Oni for day 1. He took us through freelancing work and we gained a lot. Mr. Ayodeji Folarin, he is a true guru on Power BI. The speakers at today's symposium, Ozi Obase, Precious Moluku, Isioma Chineye, for volunteering your time and sharing your wealth of knowledge in this forum. We say thank you. For those without whom this event would not have been possible, my special thanks go to my formidable team members. Joining in, our very own SC, Engineer Bada, Author Olisa, Dum Mene, Dorcas Jimmy, Stella Bodu, Mrs. Ifeyinwa Judofia, Israel Kennedy, Simeon Ogenede, Dr. Ephraim, Mr. Kan Ntiaidem, for answering the call to serve, for their resourcefulness and innovative approach in this unique organization. Thank you. Finally, we sincerely appreciate everyone for making out time to join SP Section 103 Port Harcourt Career Guidance and Continuing Education 3 days training and symposium. May God bless you and keep you all. Amen. Thank you. Over to you, Dorcas or Ife.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Imabong, for that closing remark. At this juncture, I think we have come to the end of today's event. Dorcas, please share. Let's confirm that we have exhausted the list of activities on our agenda for today.
Just the closing prayer.
Yes, it's
Great.
just the closing prayer left.
Okay, for that one, we will take any volunteer on the call. You can give us a closing prayer.
Let us pray. In Jesus' name, Father and our God, we thank you for a successful 3 days event. We give you all the praise, all the glory. You have been with us throughout this event and you have allowed us gain knowledge on all sides. Let us all go back and practice this as we have gained. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.